More right here on Herbally Yours at WHPC 90.3. This is your host, Ellen Kamai. You can find me at naturalnurse.com. And you can also join us in the field. We have herb walks everywhere, all over Long Island, including in Oyster Bay Library. We have one in a couple days coming up. You can find out more at naturalnurse.com calendar and see where and when you'd like to join us in person. We'd love to say hello to you. Today we have as our guest Louise Gittleman, the First Lady of Nutrition. She is a New York Times bestselling author of over 30 books. And today we're talking about her newest book, The New Fat Flush Plan. So welcome back, Louise.
Thank you, and do excuse my voice. It's a little bit hoarse, Ellen, because I just came back from a keynote address in the great state of Oregon, where I addressed a group of nutritionists, and I'm going to suggest you for next year, by the way. So this is a wonderful opportunity to mention this.
I would love to do that. Just get in touch, because I was just working on my 2018 schedule today, which is really actually getting filled. So Please do get in touch. That would be wonderful to join you there. Now, when you're talking about the liver, I think a lot of people are not aware of how important that is. We just wrote an article last week for Newsmax, and I often write for them, and it was about the fact that toxic cleansers that people use in their home actually can make them gain weight. And the reason is very much what you said, that the liver tries to protect itself by putting those toxins inside fat. That's called lipophilic.
You know, that's so true. And I think what people don't realize is that the liver is a very underestimated organ, and you never really know when you've got problems with your liver unless you take blood tests and can look at liver enzymes, because it doesn't always hurt you. It doesn't give you the signals the way that your heart might, or your back, or your kidneys, or your teeth. But we know that the liver performs nearly 500 different tasks. I mean, it's your real living filter to cleanse the system of all kinds of toxins, from the household cleansers that you speak of to controlling hormonal balance, and it even produces immune-boosting factors. So many of these functions, I think, are not only essential to overall health, but they have a direct bearing to your weight loss efforts. And if you can't break down hormones, you start becoming hormone dominant or estrogen dominant. And that's a problem in and of itself, because many of the toxins that are in cleansers these days or are in the environment from the plastics that we are exposed to are estrogenetic. So it's a big deal. The real issue is you're not going to be able to get away from it to some extent. You can minimize your exposure, yes, but you have to strengthen the liver. It is your body's premier detox organ, your body's living filter.
And in your book, you really lay out a beautiful plan. You mentioned one really simple thing that all our listeners can start on immediately in terms of lemon juice in the morning. So how would that recipe go?
The lemon juice recipe is a very basic recipe, but we can jazz it up, and I'm happy to do that for your listeners. It is the juice of half a lemon, and let's get an organic lemon, which has a great deal of bioflavonoids, a very important element of vitamin C, so helpful for the immune system. And you take the juice of half a lemon in about 8 ounces of room temperature water. And we do room temperature water because it doesn't shock the system. It's very cleansing and very calming for first thing in the morning. And that really serves to tone the liver. It cleanses the palate, it helps the kidneys, and it thins the bile, which is your detox mechanism. So that's a very easy thing to really initiate in the morning. If you want to jazz it up with a few little herbs and spices, you can put a tad of turmeric, you know, the latest, greatest herbal spice, antioxidant known to man. You can throw a little turmeric in there. People put a little cardamom in there as well, which is a very lovely liver-loving spice, and maybe even a little bit of cayenne. So you can do all kinds of things with your basic lemon and water. But if you don't do anything else, that's my number one go-to tonic.
Right. I do that every morning. And cardamon's interesting. That's an Ayurvedic herb that's often used in chai tea. People have probably heard of chai tea.
And I love chai tea, and it's because of the cardamom. But it's very important for the phase 2 liver detoxification mechanism. So I say bring back cardamom. I think it is underused and underrated. It's my very favorite. I think it's better than cinnamon in terms of spicing up some of your foods, and especially good for seasoning meats and very good for beans. I just adore cardamom.
Well, since we're on Herbally Yours, we can discuss your special fat-flushing herbs and spices, which you mentioned a couple of already. So you have a list right on page 97 of cayenne pepper, cumin, dried mustard, cinnamon, ginger, dill, garlic, anise, fennel, cloves, bay, coriander, parsley, cilantro, apple cider vinegar, coconut vinegar, is that what I'm seeing here? And cumin, and of course, the cardamom, as you mentioned. So a lot of people who are eating a standard American diet would not be ingesting any of those spices. We see that more commonly in ethnic diets.
We do, which is why I think it's so important to kind of expand your horizons, and I think that your medicine chest is now your spice cabinet. So I would very definitely try a little cardamom in the tea. I think cumin is a wonderful peppery type of spice, which is not only good as a cancer preventative, but at least 1/2 to 1 teaspoon a day is very good as a fat blaster. So these are multitaskers, which I think are not just empty flavor enhancers, but have real therapeutic value. Now, what we're finding is that a lot of individuals are concerned about nightshades, and cayenne pepper is one of those major nightshades. So to get that little, heat, so to speak, which acts as a thermogenic agent, I'm telling people to use a little dried mustard instead.
That's a great idea. And, you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, and my guest today is Louise Gittleman, nutritionist and author of The Fat Flush Plan. So you do have a lot of really good information on different things, such as thyroid function and sleep. How do they affect weight loss?
Well, interestingly enough, there's a connection with the liver and the gallbladder and the thyroid, so I'll take that one by one. The thyroid, as you know, is your metabolic gland, and what we're finding is that individuals that do not have enough bile in their systems may not be able to convert the T4 to T3. And so people that have their gallbladder out and are not taking bile replacement, I go into this in a great deal of length in the new Fat Flush Plan, may be really dampening and tamping down their metabolism by at least 70%. There's a huge connection. So that's that connection. So hypothyroidism and bile/gallbladder issues are intimately related. And sleep, is very important because without sleep, we're going to have major cortisol stress, I would say peaks and valleys. And a lot of those peaks that many of us have could occur in the middle of the night in which we're waking up, and we know that cortisol is a fat-promoting hormone. So you have to get back to basics, Ellen. There's no getting around it. Everybody wants a magic bullet. And to some degree, the fat-flushing spices and herbs that you're very familiar with yourself, I think, are magic bullets. But not when it comes to everyday habits. There's really no secret. Your body is made to operate a certain way. It's not that much different than when it was evolved from 40,000 years ago. So eating a caveman-type Fat Flush Plan, I think, is the reality that we have to start to approach and embrace, and also going to sleep at a reasonable time, not pushing ourselves, and having some sort of stress relief.
And what about parasites?
Oh, dear. My favorite topic. Well, because we were exposed to so many environmental toxins, I think there are 30 to 40,000 more toxins in the environment than when our grandparents were alive. Our bodies have become weaker, and they can't always fend off some of these parasites. So if you have been exposed to any of the microscopic invaders, from amoeba to giardia to blastocystis, or any of the larger ones because you're a fan of sashimi or sushi, then you may be carrying these little buggers that are eating up all your nutrients, making you very tired and making you overeat. So there's a whole section in there about the underlying weight gain factor of parasites, as well as bile, thyroid, adrenal, some of the issues that people should be looking into. And we talk about what you can do very easily in your diet. This is not strange stuff by any means, but the kind of foods, the kind of seeds, the kind of nutrients that can really make your body invincible.
And there's great recipes throughout the book, so that's probably a very strong point for people to get it. And they're very simple, too.
Yes, very simple.
Which is always good on my list, to have things that you can make ahead of time, you can freeze them, and just have it as part of your weight loss on project.
Yes. So all of this, I tried to put into the new Fat Flush plan. This is a book that originally came out, Ellen, in 2002, so it really was due for an overhaul.
And you updated it.
And we updated it and revised it and really included a lot of the newer foods that people love, and from the spaghetti squash to jicama. There's just a lot of new herbs and spices, foods, grain-free foods. There's the quinoa salads, quinoa tabbouleh, all the kinds of things that I think people should be eating because they're grain-free, gluten-free, soy-free, and dairy-free.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today, Louise Gittleman. And I want to thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email whpc.ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamai, at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.